On the red soil road, Patton carried a bag of chicken stock he had just bought and hummed a song, and his whole heart was his life in the garden that he was about to start. This remote town is called Ed Castle. Its name is rusty, but to him, it is simply heaven. No one knows him, no one knows that he is the devil who once made the whole world a singular voice. He can finally take away the brave men who shouted and killed and pass the peaceful days of growing chicken. Hey, new! A sharp sound suddenly broke his dream. Patton turned around and saw a chubby old lady walking towards him with a croquette in her hand. The old lady looked at him up and down, her eyes flashing. You just moved to the broken house of Lao Zhang, right? Look at your body, it's not simple. Patton was stunned, his heart skipped a beat. He's so silly. Isn't it just a linen cloth worn by ordinary people? In order not to attract attention, he deliberately hid the horns and wiped the layers with magic on his face. No matter how you look, they are all ordinary middle-aged uncles. He smiled dryly and slapped his hand. Auntie, you think you are wrong. I am a terrible person, there is nothing special. Shi Tian? Humph, don't scare me. Aunt Wang put her hips on her hips and narrowed her eyes into a slut. I have lived for more than 60 years, but who has never seen anyone? You are so arrogant, you are definitely not an ordinary person. I think you are a master of the world, right? Patton's mouth twitched, and 1,000 grass in his heart rushed over. An unknown master? Auntie, can your brain be bigger? My life is true, and the master dare not be a master. After all, I just want to raise chickens now. He slammed his head. Auntie, really, there is no one. I just came to grow the fields and raise chickens. Chicken? It's a coincidence. Aunt Wang slapped her thighs and showed a successful smile on her face. I have recently been stealing chickens in our town, stealing my little chicken cubs. I'm so angry that I can't sleep well every night. You are a master, and you can definitely help catch food, right? Patton almost threw away the feed bag in his hand. What? Stealing chicken? It's nothing to do with me. I'm here to retire, not to be a security guard. He hurriedly said, Auntie, you should look for a town chief or something for this matter. I really won't catch any money. No, the old man from the town knows how to drink tea, it's useless. Aunt Wang grabbed Patton's sleeve, and was shocking. You are new, why are you busy? Besides, I think you are capable, don't hide it. Patton was dragged away helplessly, and his heart was full of tears. It's the first day, why did you get such an aunt who loves casual affairs? He looked down and saw that Aunt Wang's eyes were as bright as a searchlight, full of expectation, and she swallowed it back in her mouth. Forget it, help me, so that she won't be troubled every day in the future. Okay, Oklahoma, take me to sea. Patton sighed and agreed. When Aunt Wang heard this, she was so happy that she couldn't hold her mouth together, and she led him to the circle of her chickens. Along the way, she still kept whispering, I just said you are a powerful man. When the thief is caught, I ask you to eat a chicken and keep a few meals you eat. Patton rolled his eyes in his heart and thought to himself, Auntie, this chicken is quite worthwhile, but it is not worth it to make me strife. When he arrived at Mrs. Wang's house, Patton saw that the chicken circle was as broken as a ruin. A few thin little chickens were snatching inside, and there was nothing to steal. He couldn't help but complain, Auntie, your chicken isn't worth a lot of money to steal, right? What? Not worth the money? Aunt Wang was blown up as soon as she heard it. This is the baby chicken I have been raising for 3 years. I feel so distressed to steal it. You have to catch me, otherwise I will never finish it with you. Patton was speechless and could only turn around the chicken circle with his head hard. He was worried about the devil's eyesight that year, and he could tell at a glance that there were a few footprints next to the chicken circle, or they were still new. I guess the thief will come tonight. He was thinking about it. What should he do? It's too numb to catch people, it's better to be scared. When it was dark, Patton and Aunt Wang squatted in the grass beside the chicken circle. The ant ate melon seeds and said, if Xiao Bao dares to come, I will have to peel him off. You have to give me a look. Patton felt sleepy in his heart and said, okay, Don't worry. Sure enough, in the middle of the night, a thief who was as thin as a bamboo pole sneaked over, holding a broken sack in his hand. When Barton saw it, he was happy. He was not professional in stealing chickens. There were holes in the sack, and he couldn't even hold them if he stole them. He was eager to move, and with a swing, he chanted a spell in a low voice, and a little monster diamonded out of the shadow. The thing was as tall as a big mouse, with green eyes and saliva ticking in his mouth, and he was sucking. Go, scare him, Barton ordered in a low voice. The little monster squeaked, and Lima rushed out and headed straight for the thief. The thief was lowering his head and prying the lock of the chicken circle. He raised his head suddenly. Seeing this thing, he sat on the ground with a scare and ran away with a snail, yelling in his mouth, "There are monsters! There are monsters!" Aunt Wong heard the silence, and immediately jumped out, picked up the broom and chased after him. "Little bastard, don't run away! You dare to steal my chicken!" Barton was watching it happily in the back, thinking that this matter was finally settled. Wait, what happened? As soon as he turned around, he found that in the grassland that was not far away, several townsmen poked out their brains and looked at him in shock. That expression seemed to have seen a ghost. Oh my God, that newcomer is really a master. He scared the enemy with one move. What move? Didn't you see him summoning a monster? This is definitely a great magician. The Egg Castle is saved. We have to ask him to be the guardian in the town. Barton heard these discussions and his skin became numb. What? Guardian? Calling monsters? Please, I just made a gadget and scared. Why did I become a great magician? He hurriedly said, I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm doing nothing. But the people of the town were not listening to him, and they came up to express his verbal confusion. An old man was so excited that his eyes were all revealed. Young man, you are the savior of our town. If anything happens in the future, we will all count on you. Barton was about to cry and shouted in his heart, Can I count on you to let me go? This is just the first day, and I became a savior. How could I survive this retirement life? At the same time, on the other side of the town, Shaoli, a young adventurer, was bragging to his companions in the winery with a broken sword. I heard that a new gang came from the Egg Castle. I heard that he scared the chicken stealing with one move and summoned the monster. Look, this person is probably not simple, maybe he has anything to do with the Demon King. Come on, Shaoli, why are you always thinking about the Demon King? A fat companion next to him rolled his eyes. The Demon King has been beaten away by the brave. Now, 80% of his death are dead. How can we come to this broken place? You don't understand. Shaoli slapped the table, his face full of face. I have studied the information of the Demon King. This guy is very cunning. Maybe he is hiding his identity and is ready to come back. I have to check the new one. Wani is really the devil's minion. We can make great contributions. The fat companion slammed his head without saying a word. You check it out and don't laugh again. Last time you said that the leader of the town was the subordinate of the Demon King. What was the result? People just like to wear black clothes, but you insist that it was the devil's standard match. If the leader sees it, you will walk away. Shaoli's face turned red and said, This time is different. I want to explore the new bottom with myself. All the devil's destruction party, I have to find him out. After saying that, he picked up the sword, rushed out of the winery with great enthusiasm, and headed straight for the place where Barton lived. As a result, he was not stable at this pace, and he heard a cry on the side of the road, Help! There is a wild dog. As soon as Shaoli heard this, he stood up and pulled out the sword and rushed over. When he saw that there was no wild dog, he just fell into the claw while drunk and couldn't get up. He put away the sword and awkwardly and muttered, Bah, I was shocked, I was reluctant to catch the devil. After he finally touched the broken house in Barton, he found that the room was dark and the lights were shattering, and there was no one at all. Shaoli felt unhappy and murmured, I've been hiding, right? I thought I couldn't find you like this. Wait and see, I, Shaoli, are the brave future, and I have to find you, the devil's destruction party. he was saying, his foot slipped down and stepped into the vegetable pit that Barton dug, and the whole person fell to eat shit, his face full of mud. Showley got up and stomped his feet in anger. Who dug this pit? It's so unethical. I'm not done with you. At this time, Patton was sitting in his house, drinking tea, listening to the discussions of the villagers outside the window, and his face was full of nothing to worry about. He thought that he would help Aunt Wong catch a thief, and even if this matter was over, he didn't expect that all towns now knew how to summon monsters he could not finish. Even a few ants came to knock on the door, begging him to help him solve why the stings in the fields and wild pigs on the river were nothing. Oh my God, I'm here to retire, not to be Superman. Patton slapped his brain and almost collapsed. What happened to this day? No, I have to think of a way to make them not come and tease me again. He was thinking, when a sneaky sound came from outside the door, and then there was a bang sound, as if someone had fallen. Patton had a snail and looked at the door. He found that a young man was covered in mud and was crawling out of his vegetable pit. His mouth was still sluggish. Hey, brother, who are you? Why are you climbing in the middle of the night to fuck me in the vegetable field? Patton asked unhappily. When Showley heard this, Lima jumped up, pulled out the sword and pointed at Patton, looking alert. Are you the new one? Barton was stunned and almost burst into laughter. Demon King's death party? Young man, how can you do the same thing as Aunt Wong in this brain? However, he was not in the mood to accompany him. With his hands, the mud on the ground automatically gathered into a group, directly muddying Showley's face. Check the details? Wash your face first, brother. Barton smiled and turned around and was about to close. Showley wiped his face and shouted with anger, Dare you humiliate me? Don't run away, I'm not finished with you. This is not the end. Patton closed the door and leaned against the door. He heard the anxious and ruthless shouting outside, and couldn't help rolling his eyes. What's going on with this guy? In the middle of the night, he ran to point at his nose and pointed at the Demon King's destruction party. Was his brain tied up or what? He rubbed his son's hole and felt worried. It's been a few days since the chicken egg castle, why is it so messy? The chicken stealing has just been solved, and now an adventurer is coming to find fault. How can this retirement life be more tiring than being a devil? Don't think it's all done if you hide in the house. Showley was slapped outside, his voice sounded like a killer. I tell you, I am a brave man in the future, I will catch you with a bad egg with a hidden head and a tail. There are some options out. Patton almost couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Single pick? Little brother, you are shaking like this broken sword, picking me? It's almost the same to pick my chicken. He was very careful and painted a small magic square on the door with the sound insulation effect immediately, and he couldn't hear it no matter how noisy it was outside. After all, he poured a cup of tea and was ready to continue thinking about how to get rid of this trouble. But the purity didn't last for half an hour, and there was another rapid knocking sound outside the door. Patton had a snake in his eyebrows. Why doesn't this magic weapon work? As soon as he opened the door, he found that it was not Showley, but Aunt Wong led a group of townsmen, with a panic on his face, and followed by several old men holding irons. Patton, something big is wrong. Aunt Wong opened her mouth and cried, a strange thing happened to our town. Several livestock were missing last night, and there were also strange screams heard at night, which was amazing. Everyone said you are a master, you have to come forward for this matter. Patton heard it, his brain buzzed. Livestock don't see it? A strange scream? Why can this broken town involve him in anything? He tried to refuse. Auntie, I really don't care about this. I'm a genius, so how can I catch monsters? Don't be ignorant. An old man next to him stomped his feet in a hurry. We have seen all the time when you called the monster to run away from the thief last time. You can help with this town, otherwise how can we live with these old bones? The 10,000 grass mud horses in Patton's heart began to run to the trek again. Calling monsters? That's a gadget made by hand, why did it be passed on as a big move? He wanted to explain it, but looking at the eager eyes of the villagers, he swallowed his words back. Forget it, just help, so that they can avoid them coming to knock on doors every day. Okay, take me to see. Patton sighed helplessly, carried the beef beside him, and was taking a walk. When Aunt Wang heard this, she opened the flowers and led him to the forest beside the town. Along the way, the villagers of the town talked about the situation, such as hearing the wolf screams at night, the chicken in the chicken circle disappeared overnight, and some people also said that they saw the monster with red eyes wandering in the woods, and Barton wanted to laugh. A red-eyed monster? It's probably because of whom the dog is running away in a wrong place. When he arrived at the forest, Patton glanced at it twice and found that there were not many unfavorable footprints, not wild animals, but like people wearing large boots, and there were a few broken leaves next to it, emitting a strange smell, as if they were smearing some medicine. He felt a little nervous and understood. What kind of monster is this? 80 most of them are the ones who are doing evil tricks. I learned that the thief made some tricks last time and was shocking. Okay, everyone will go back first. I'll deal with this. Patton replied casually, slacking off his hands to let the villagers of the town spread. Aunt Wang wanted to follow him, but Patton hurriedly said, "Auntie, I'm distracted here. Go back and wait for the news. I'll guarantee that you will give you good news tomorrow." The old lady left with half believing and half doubted. Patton waited for them to walk far away, and Lima squatted down and slapped the snail from the footprint to hear the sound. Sure enough, there was a smell of a bad quality scented medicine. He was familiar with this thing. When he was the Demon King, his subordinates had a second cart who liked to use this trick to trick people. The effect was to make people fucked, but it didn't work for wild beast farts. He sneered, thinking that this helper is really not aware of it. If you can steal chickens, you can't change it, right? He walked deep into the woods with his footprints, and he could hear several low voices coming from far away. "Boss, this trick is really useful. We took those cows away last night. If we get a few more sheep tonight, will the villagers of the town be stunned? Then we will pretend to catch monsters and earn some money, hee hee. Wind. I got this fantasy from the black market, it is guaranteed to work." Patton almost laughed as he heard the conversation. A master who summons monsters. Isn't that what I said? Co-authored "You are still afraid of me, you are so cute." He was not in a hurry to move. With one move, he summoned 2 small monsters, who looked like tree spirits, and were green and could move by himself, repelling like monsters in the woods. "Go and give them a look." Patton gave a low voice and the 2 little monsters, Lemma, swept over. The guys who were malicious were sharing the game after the tree, and suddenly saw 2 lumps of green things coming towards them, and they scattered with a slight roar. One of the fat men fell and shouted in his mouth, "Monster! There are really monsters. Boss, run away! Run away, beat the stick." The guy who was called the boss was still a little embarrassed. He picked up a wooden stick and rushed on it. As a result, the little monster slapped it with one claw, and the stick broke into 2 pieces, and the person rolled directly into the bush. Patton looked behind, very happy. This skill is not good at helping people, but he is quite tough and will be completely jealous if he is scared by 2 strokes. He was about to let the little monster add fire to the helper, and he heard a swish sound behind him, and then he pointed a broken sword at his back. "Stop! I knew you were the mastermind behind the scenes." Shaoli's voice came from behind, and he was so angry. Sneaking the forest at night, and summon monsters. It was indeed the minions of the devil. "I caught me this time, let's see how you still cunning." Patton turned around and saw Shaoli staring at him righteously. The sword in his hand was shaking like a crunch, and there were mud dots hanging on his face. It was probably because he had crawled out of a pit. He rubbed the head of the magnitude without saying, "Brother, why are you here again?" "I am helping the people of the town to solve the problem." "What are you doing with?" "Solve the problem?" "Humph, don't cheat." Shaoli looked at everything, "I just heard it." "What did those people say? The monster is coming, must be yourselves. You just want to scare the villagers of the town and then put on the hero and get rid of it. Is that right?" After Patton heard it, he almost sprayed out an old blood. How can this brain be so wrong? He was relieved and swept his hand. The vines on the ground suddenly started to move, sucking Shaoli's foot like a snake, and directly hanging him with a golden thigh. Ah! Let me down! You evil guy! Shaoli slammed in the air, and his sword fell off, and he still shouted in dissatisfaction, "If you have the ability, let me down and pick it." What's the ability to use magic? Patton couldn't help looking at his appearance, and laughed. Single choice? Brother, please get yourself down first. If I were really the minion of the devil, I would have thrown you to the forest and fucked the wolf, and I would have talked to you. Shaoli was hung up, his face was red, but his mouth was still hard. Humph, don't be proud. I'm a sudden mistake. When I take my leave, I will arrest you to see the official. Patton snatched his head, ignored him, and turned to look at the guys who were malicious. They had been scared by the little monster and were snatched by rats. Now, seeing Shaoli being hung up, they were even more shocked and rushed over to ask for a gift. Big, don't you live? We just play, we don't want to harm anyone. The boss knelt on the ground, snot and snatched his eyes. We are all hiding the livestock in the cave, and we will go back tomorrow. Please don't summon monsters. Patton glanced at them, and with a swipe, the little monster disappeared, making several people shivering again. He snorted coldly, "Have fun? The townspeople are not like this. The livestock must go back tomorrow, so I will find out that you are causing trouble and your legs will be interrupted. Do you hear it? Speak, here." Several people were busy, wishing they could disappear. Patton was satisfied with the head and turned to look at Shaoli, who was still slamming in the air. With a swipe, the vines opened. Shaoli fell to the ground with a sweeping sound, and hummed in pain. He got up, his face was dissatisfied and wanted to slap, but he was so angry that he was staring at him that he couldn't move. "I've heard it, brother," Patton said helplessly. "I'm not a demon's minion. This is a bad move that helps people. I'm just here to solve the problem. If you really want to be a brave man, your eyes will be bright, don't keep staring at me, okay?" Shaoli curled his lips, still half believing and half doubting. "Then why did you summon monsters? How could ordinary people have such skills?" Patton's heart skipped a beat and he kept talking nonsense. This is a handicraft that I learned from an old Taoist priest when I was a child. It was useless, but it could scare people. Don't say anything, otherwise my handicraft would have to be exposed." Shaoli heard it and glanced at him suspiciously. He never chased him again, but just muttered, "Humph, you're over this time, but I'll still stare at you, don't let me catch the handle." Patton slammed his head in a verbal way, thinking to himself why this young man is so swaying. But at least he had fooled it, so he clapped his hands and prepared to finish work and go home. As a result, when he turned around, he heard Lin Zishan growling, not like a human voice or an ordinary wild animal, with an inexplicable sense of pressure. "What's the thing?" Patton's eyebrows snarled and turned to look in the direction where the sound came. Shaoli next to him also heard this, and came to the siege, picked up the sword and prepared to go over. "Ha, this must be a real monster. I'll go and have a look." "Don't come." Patton grabbed him, feeling a little uneasy. This sounds a bit familiar, like the call of an old guy under his command back then, but it shouldn't be. Those guys have been dealt with by the brave, so why did they appear in this broken place? He was thinking. The low growl was closer, and accompanied by the sound of the branches being trampled, it sounded like a big guy was coming here. Patton stared at the growls getting closer and closer, feeling a bad feeling in his heart. This sound is so familiar, like the one who helped the demons under his command back then, but the problem is that those guys were going to be chopped off by the brave, and they would have dispersed long ago. Why did this egg castle suddenly pop up? He glanced at Shaoli, who was radiating with two eyes, and pulled the corner of his mouth without saying a word. "Hey, don't be moved, have you heard it? You can't handle this thing." Shaoli was displeased when he heard this, and danced the sword, feeling dissatisfied. "What do I want to deal with it? I am the brave man of the future. I can chop this monster with one blow. Don't hold on, look." After saying that, he ignored Patton's reaction and rushed towards the direction of the sound, and turned to life like a desperate fool. Patton rubbed his son's pussy helplessly and muttered, "Why can't this kid hear people? Forget it, don't really let him die." He raised his hand and shook the vines on the ground again, slamming Shaoli's ankle, and directly pulled him into his head, falling all over his mouth. "Hey! What are you doing?" Shaoli got up, jumping up in anger, and staring at Patton. "I'm going to save people." "What do you mean by keeping me? Do you have any hooks with this monster?" Patton almost heard it and said, "Cross? Little brother, if I really have something to do with the monster, I'll let it eat you long ago, and I still have to save you? Stay true, don't make trouble for me." As soon as he finished speaking, a deafening roar came from the forest. The ground was shaking for a few seconds, and the leaves were falling down, and the air was not as good as the ones that could be used to help the evil tricks. At this moment, Shaoli was stunned. He shook his hand holding the sword, and his mouth was still hard. "Humph, no matter how loud the roared, it wouldn't be afraid of me. I will meet it now." As he said, he wanted to move forward again, but he was pressed by Patton and couldn't even move. "I'll make a fart, I'll squat down," Barton said unhappily, staring at Lin Zishan. A few seconds later, a large black shadow suddenly appeared in the tree. It was as big as 2 cows. It was covered with black hair, its eyes were red like 2 lanterns, and its mouth was ticking, and it looked like a low-level demon, the black-haired bear. Although this thing is not very smart, it is too powerful and has a bad temper. Ordinary adventurers basically give food when they encounter it. Damn, there are really monsters. Shaoli was shocked, his legs were softened a few minutes, and the sword in his hand was even more shaking. Why would this guy run away from us here? Didn't he say there are only wild pigs in the forest? Patton's heart was also unhappy. There was no such magic source as the broken place of the egg castle. How could it attract the magic? He was blinded and noticed a broken iron chain hanging around Zhuoxiong's neck, as if it had been tied up and then removed. 80 mostly, some ugly guy caught this thing as a pet, but he couldn't afford to be retaliated. He snorted coldly, thinking that people in this town can really cause trouble. Why is retirement so difficult? At this time, the villagers of the town also heard the silence, and poked their heads far away from the forest, making their faces turn white. Aunt Wang even shouted at the top of her voice, "Barton! What kind of monster is this? You have to save us, otherwise this town will be over." In Patton's heart, 10,000 horses ran over the bush. "Save you? Auntie, I came to the field, not to protect the lens." But when he saw Aunt Wang's expression that was about to cry, and Shaoli next to him looked at her resolute look at what you should do now, he swallowed the refusal. "Forget it, let's do it, so that this helping others will be troubled again." "I'll retreat, don't get closer." Barton yelled in a low voice and rolled a branch from the ground with his hands, which was a weapon. Shaoli was displeased when he heard this, and Lima jumped out and said, "Retreat? Why are you going to get on? I am the adventurer. I will deal with this monster," he said as he wanted to rush up, but the bear stared at him with a look of his eyes, and froze in place, and the sword almost dropped. Patton rolled his eyes without saying a word and complained, "Please pay. You can't stand firm even when you stand. What should you do? Listen to it, hide and don't drag your legs." After saying that, he didn't wait for Shaoli to turn back, and walked towards the bear. When the bear saw someone approaching, Remo roared and slapped his claws, smashing a big hole, and the soil was flying far away. The villagers of the town screamed in surprise, and Aunt Wang shouted heartily, "Be careful, Patton. Don't force yourself, save your life." Patton was wondering in his heart, save his life? I thought, but what if you don't let me calm down? He said nothing, and he waved the branches with his hands and recited a mantra in his mouth. The branch suddenly turned into a thick vine whip, and it directly thrusts into the front paw of the bear with a broken voice. Bang! A sound was crisp and the vine whip slapped hard on the bear's claws, causing it to jump up with a roar, staring at Patton with anger, as if it was irritated by the slightest. Shaoli was stunned from behind and muttered, What trick is this? Can the tree branches still change the whip?" This guy is indeed not simple. Patton didn't take care of his surprise. When he saw the bear snatching over, he flashed his body on the side of the horse, and the vine whip snatched over again, and this time he directly slammed the bear's legs. With the force of his wrist, he staggered the gang of hundreds of pounds, and fell to the sky. When the townsmen saw this, they burst out and shouted, "Okay! Patton is so bad. Beat this monster to death." But Patton knew in his heart that this violent bear had thick skin and flesh, and it was impossible to deal with the vine whip. He was slight and noticed that the iron chain opening on Zhuxiang's neck was a little new. It was estimated that this guy had just been wiped out and he might still be injured. With one move, he summoned 3 little monsters, which looked like a mini-style bear, but his movements were as flexible as a monkey. "Go, turn around and don't let it stare at me." Patton gave a low voice, and the 3 little monsters stood out, squeaking around the bear, and sometimes squeaking it, making the bear roar and slap its claws, and even the little monster's hair had not touched. Shaoli looked at him from behind and couldn't help but shout, "Hey, your call is too naughty. Why can you summon anything? Can you still hear you? If this is used for a fight, who will beat you?" Patton heard it, almost laughed out loud, and glanced at him. "Fight? I'm playing with dogs, do you think I'm happy? Just look at it, learn something, don't always think about picking it." He took advantage of the airfoil that was attracted by the little monster to quickly surf it, raised his hand and swung it, and a shaped magic wave directly hit the back of the bear. That place happened to be where it was injured. When it was hit, the bear screamed in pain and turned around and wanted to slap Patton. "Good!" Patton curled his mouth and stepped down, jumped a few meters away, and then threw out another magic wave with his hand, which hit the bear's knee directly. The bear was in pain, and while he was empty, he also fell a dog to eat shit. 2 scattered white air came out of his nostrils, looking both wolfish and funny. The villagers of the town laughed loudly, and Aunt Wang even applauded, "Patton is so good. I beat this guy so hard that he was looking for teeth. Let it dare to come to our town again." Little Lee was full of facial confusion and muttered, "This guy has really happened to 2 things, but why do I still think he is not simple?" Patton didn't care what they thought. When he saw the bear's eyes irritated, he simply added fire and raised his hand to slap it. Suddenly, a pile of mud appeared on the ground, condensing into a big clay man, 3 meters tall, roaring towards the bear. The bear was stunned, and the erect horse moved its target. With a slap in his claws, the clay man silently spread into a mud on the ground, but this also took time for Patton. He took advantage of the opportunity to roam the side of the bear, chanted a spell in a low voice, and with a small magic beam of light hit the wound on the bear's neck. The hit was hit hard, and the bear screamed in pain, and finally couldn't bear it. He fell to the ground with a sound, panting heavily, and the red light in his eyes also dissipated, as if he was unable to fight again. "Do it." Patton patted the gray on his hand, turned his head to look at the townspeople, and said, "This thing is not threatening at a moment. You can find some force to lift it up, don't let it run again. Oh, by the way, remember who has grown this broken bear, don't let it run out and scare it." As soon as the villagers heard this, Lima burst into a cry. Several young men who were young and powerful ran over and blocked Zhu Xiong with their hands and feet, and kept saying, "Patton, you are really the savior of our town. What should you do without you today?" Aunt Wang was so excited that her eyes were almost out, and she took Patton's hand and muttered, "Good boy, fortunately you are here, otherwise my old bones would be really apart." Patton was so annoyed that his skin was numb, and he hurriedly said, "Auntie, don't exaggerate me. I just helped you with it. It's really nothing." But before he finished speaking, Shaoli suddenly came over and stared at him suspiciously. "Hey, you just had those tricks, and ordinary people can't use them. Who are you? Why are you so many kinds of things?" Barton's heart skipped a beat, his face calmly put on his face, and he talked nonsense. "What kind of thing? I learned a little bit of a fight with a golf scholar when I was a child. It's okay to scare people, but I can't fight. Look at my body, it seems like I can fight." As he said, he patted his muscleless arm and forced a pair of weak chickens. Shaoli glanced at him half-believingly for a while and hummed, "Humph, you're over, but don't think I won't stare at you. I'm going to dig out your true face." After saying that, he straightened his back, as if he wanted to save some of the face that was scared to his legs. As a result, his foot slipped down and almost fell into the mud pit next to him, which made the villagers laugh. Patton couldn't help laughing at his wolfish look, thinking, why is this kid so much? But at least this matter was settled. He was about to pat his butt and go home. He heard Aunt Wang shouting from behind, "Barton, don't leave. This big guy has been blocked, but who knows whether it will be killed again. You have to find a way to solve this problem in a complete way." Patton walked a step and almost didn't carry it. "A thorough solution? Auntie, are you trying to make me a full-time security guard?" He turned around and found that not only Aunt Wang, but other townsmen were also looking at him with a slight look in their eyes, and their eyes were all based on their reliance, which seemed to be not going to let him go easily. "Brother Patton, it seems you are not simple," Shaoli said with a strange look on his side, biting the grassroots in his mouth, and his face was full of raptures. "How about we cooperate? I am a brave man, and you are a magician. What's going on? If there is anything wrong with the sect in the future, let's go together to keep the world in custody of no enemy." Barton heard it so hard that he hurriedly said, "Feeding is free. I am a genius. I don't have that time. You should go play by yourself." After speaking, he ignored Shaoli's dissatisfied look and forced himself to get out of the crowd, ready to go home and hide in this neighborhood that he was passionate about. But he had just walked for a few steps, and then he heard a rapid stomp sound from behind him. Then Shaoli's loud voice, "Hey, don't run away. I haven't finished talking about this monster yet. I probably can't get anything to do with you, so I have to go back and check it out with you." Patton stopped helplessly and turned around and saw that Shaoli had caught up with him again, holding the broken sword in his hand, his face full of thought as if he was going to fight. He rubbed the head and felt agitation in his heart. Why is this difficult retirement day? Barton stood on the edge of the woods and solved the black-haired bear. He thought he would always be able to clean up this time. As a result, Shaoli's voice buzzed like a bob. He turned helplessly, looked at Shaoli's expression. "I caught you" on his face, and the broken sword was still dancing in his hand, and he was like a lazy person who could not stop at the goal. "Hey, Patton, I haven't finished talking about it." Literally caught up with him in a hurry, and his face was full of mud. "You just had those tricks, and they are definitely not something that ordinary people can use. Is it true that you have hidden some big secret? Maybe you released this bear and then installed a hero to save people. Is that right?" Patton almost laughed and rubbed his sunny hole and replied without saying, "Brother, how can your brain be so big? If I could really release this thing, would I have to go up and clean it up? I've been hiding at home and having tea. Do you still save effort? Don't keep staring at me." Shaoli snorted, obviously not believing it, and his eyes were still swept over Patton, as if he wanted to find something to break. Barton had to pay attention to him and turned around and prepared to leave. But after taking a step, the townsmen around the distance surrounded him again, and Aunt Wang was still on his head, with smiles piled on his face, and his eyes were as bright as a searchlight. "Patton, you are really the savior of our egg castle." Aunt Wang grabbed Patton's arm, and his voice was so excited that he trembled. "If it weren't for you, this big guy would have to tear our town." Everyone said, "Thank you very much tonight. We have prepared a grand celebration, you can't recommend it." When Patton heard the 3 words, "greetings and congratulations," his skin was blown up. "Congratulations? Thank me? Auntie, can I beg you to let me go? I came here to raise chicken, not to be your idol." He hurriedly said, "Auntie, it's really no need. I just help you with your hands." "What a blessing. I have to go home to feast your chickens." "What are you picking up chicken?" Aunt Wang put her hips on her hips, full of energy. "You have saved the life of the whole town. How can you say you can help?" No, I must come tonight. We are all ready to roast whole lamb, rice wine, and a few fat chickens that everyone has dumped. Isn't it going to waste?" Several townsmen next to them also started to cheer and shouted, "Only, Patton, we won't agree if you don't come." You are the hero of our town, how can you not participate? Someone also patted his chest and said, the pigs in my house have been slaughtered, just waiting for you to smell it. Patton was so excited that he was surrounded by this helper, and he kept shouting for help in his heart. What's going on? Has the solution to a monster still solved the problem of marijuana? He wanted to find an excuse to slip away, but when he saw Aunt Wang's unavoidable eyes and the expectant expression of the townspeople, he swallowed the refusal back. Forget it, just go there. It will always be a challenge for them to avoid knocking on the door every day. Okay, can I go? Patton sighed helplessly and agreed. As soon as Aunt Wang heard this, Lemma was so happy that she couldn't hold her mouth together. She patted Patton's shoulder and said, that's right. Let's go back now, and the celebration will begin immediately. As she said, she waved her hand and helped the town people with great confidence, pulling Patton towards the center of the town, as if she was escorting a great hero on the street. Shaoli looked at the scene from behind, her face complexion as if it was a colored plate, and muttered, hero? It looks quite similar. I want to see when you can install it. After saying that, he followed, holding the broken sword in his hand, as if he was ready to grab Patton's little seat at any time. When he arrived at the square in the center of the town, Patton was stunned when he saw it. A wooden table had been set up on the square, with barbecue and wine barrels piled up on it, and several ants were busy placing the plate, and the air was filled with the aroma of meat. There were 5 colors of cloth hanging around, and several children ran over with small homemade flags, shouting Barton heroes in their mouths, and the scene was as hot as the new year. Is this too annoying? Patton's mouth twitched, and he was muttering in his heart. What hero? I just beat the big bear away. Why did it behave like a devil? Wait, when it comes to the Demon King. He himself is the Demon King. Why do you think about this situation more and more and more? Come on, Patton, sit here. Aunt Wang pressed him onto the chair in the middle of the wooden table without saying a word. Several large ants next to him stood up and served wine and meat, smiling as if they were seeing someone. Tonight you are the protagonist, eat openly, don't be polite. Patton couldn't even move after being pressed. He took a bowl of rice wine helplessly and took a sip with his squid on his head. The wine was quite fragrant, but he couldn't get up at all. How could he let go of the heat in his heart? The townsmen, no matter what he thought, were scattered to him. Barton, you are the lucky star of our town and I will rely on you for anything in the future. He almost burst into tears when he heard it. Just then, Shaoli also rushed in, holding a roast lamb leg in his hand, biting his mouth full of oil, and staring at Patton at once, saying, Hey, hero, why did you learn to summon monsters? This is not simple. Barton rolled his eyes so much that he said, I said that when I was a kid, I could scare people, but it was useless. Why do you always ask this? You can eat your lamb legs, don't be troublesome. After saying that, he picked up the wine bowl and took a big sip, and forced the question to break it. Shaoli was choked and said nothing, but his eyes were full of suspicion, and he muttered, Don't cheat, I'll dig out your bottom sooner or later. As he said, he chewed the lamb legs and glanced at Patton. As a result, his hand slipped and the lamb legs fell directly to the ground, covered in mud, which caused several children next to him to laugh. What are you looking at? I haven't seen her legs. Shaoli's face turned red, and she slapped her tightly and wiped her. Her mouth was as hard as a wire, and she turned her head and shouted to Patton again, Hey, don't think I'll give up, I'm the most obsessed. Patton looked at his appearance and couldn't help it. He laughed out loud, Brother, is the direction you are a little tilted? I didn't see any results in catching the Demon King's destruction party. It's a pity that you have. After saying that, he didn't care about Shaoli's red face and chewed the barbecue with his head down, as if he was watching it. The celebration was held until midnight. The villagers of the town had enough food and drink. At the beginning, they pulled Patton to complain. The chicken circle at home is damaged again, so help me repair it. There are cysts in the field, so let me take a look. An old man even said drunk, Barton, my family's nurse is not a partner. What do you think you are? Barton almost sprayed the wine in his mouth, and hurriedly said, Don't be so arrogant, I'm just a farmer, I'm not so lucky." But the old man didn't hear the pressure, and insisted on holding his hand and refused to let go. Several aunts next to him also said, "Again, Barton is such a young man, who is very capable. Whose family girl doesn't want to eat after marrying?" Patton was almost blown up by the helpers, and he shouted in his heart, "I retired to raise chickens, not to meet each other." He finally found an empty file, but he used the excuse of going into the thatched cottage to sneak out of the crowd and hid in the tree on the side of the field to catch his breath. But after sitting down for only 2 seconds, Shaoli appeared like a ghost again, holding half of the lamb leg in his hand, and said proudly, "Ha, why are you running away? Did I catch me? I just said you have a problem, why are you hiding from this sneaky fuck?" Patton glanced at him without saying goodbye. "What are you fucking? Can you avoid ching-ching? Brother, why are you so angry? I beg you, okay, don't always follow me." When Shaoli heard this, he stood up and slapped his waist and said, "Do not to be clear? Humph, come on this trick. I think you are worried that I will expose your true face, so he hides from me." Patton heard it so much that he couldn't understand it. With a swipe, the grass on the ground suddenly started to move, and it formed a small net, directly sucking Shaoli's feet, making him unable to move. "Expose it? Okay, you can get yourself out first." Barton smiled, got up and patted his butt and prepared to leave. "Hey! Something is open to me." Shaoli was leaping from behind, but his foot was so tightly struck by the grass net that he could only watch Patton walking away with his eyes, and shouted dissatisfiedly, "This is not over. I and you are not over." Patton snatched his hand without looking back, and his heart was filled with excitement. Why is this young man so Axel? However, he had to take care of it anymore, and the enthusiasm of the celebration continued, and he didn't want to be pulled back to be a hero. So he walked away, sneaked back to his broken house, closed the door, and finally had a moment of purity. But the purity didn't last for half an hour, and there was another sound of knocking outside the door. Patton's eyebrows were snaking, thinking to himself who was in the middle of the night. As soon as I opened the door, I found that it was Aunt Wang again. I was holding a chicken egg in my hand and said with a smile on my face, "Barton, I just wish you would run too fast. These chicken eggs were not available for you. It was everyone who saved the town. Thank you for saving the town." Patton took the chicken egg and was amused and crying, "Auntie, it's really no need, Before he finished speaking, Auntie Wang interrupted again, "Don't recommend it, there is something that will bother you. Tomorrow my field will be removed, you have to come and help me, otherwise I, an old lady, will not be able to handle it." Patton heard it and almost broke down. Detoxification? "Auntie, you really don't plan to let me go?" He wanted to refuse, but when he saw Aunt Wang's eager eyes, he couldn't feel embarrassed to open his mouth, so he could only click, "Okay, I'll go and see it tomorrow." As soon as Aunt Wang heard this, Limbell blossomed, patted Patton's shoulder and said, "I knew you were kind. Then I'll call you tomorrow morning." After saying that, she left satisfied and left Patton with no choice but to close the door. He leaned against the door, looked at the candle chicken in his hand, and wanted to cry. Why is this retirement life so difficult? I thought the bears would be able to calm down, but in the end, the neighborhoods changed their capital and found him everything, and the time to connect the fields was almost gone. He sniffed, put the egg on the table, and prepared to go to bed to sleep, but just lying down, there was another sneaky sound of footsteps outside the window. Then Shaoli muttered in a low voice, "Humph, I still don't sleep in the middle of the night, there must be a ghost. I have to squat and take a look." Patton almost jumped out of bed when he heard it. Why is this kid coming again? He ran over to squat him when he didn't sleep in the middle of the night. Is there really a trick in his brain? He rolled his eyes and simply ignored it. With a swipe, a circle of small magic weapons appeared around the window. The sound insulation effect was immediately online, and no matter how noisy it was outside, I couldn't hear it. But when the magic weapon was finished, Patton heard a dong sound, as if someone had fallen and followed, and then Shaoli was so angry that he called out, "Who is digging a hole under the window?" It's so unethical. I'm twisted my feet. Barton listened to the house and couldn't help but say to himself, dig a pit? Brother, that pit was the last time you fell in by yourself, why can you blame me? As he said, he slammed his head, turned off the light, and lay back on the bed, thinking that he really couldn't pass this day. His retirement dream was to soak the soup in a long time, and now he has become a tin-pot repairman in the egg burger. The next morning, Patton was not awake yet, but was clamored by Aunt Wang's knocking on the door, and he forced him to go to the field to remove the worms. As a result, when I arrived at the field, I saw Shaoli limping over, holding a crutch in his hand, and said dissatisfiedly, "Hey, Patton, my foot is twisted because of you, you have to be responsible. Otherwise, I will be with you in the future and be yours, what's the case?" Patton heard it and almost smiled. He glanced at him, "Sister? Brother, why did you still bring a fuck in this follower? I don't have that blessing. You should just take care of yourself." After saying that, he ignored Shaoli's unwilling expression and turned to Aunt Wang to work on the field. But Shaoli Jian didn't intend to give up, so he limped behind him, yelling, "I was injured to catch the devil's destruction party. Who are you responsible? Besides, I can help you as your follower. Look at my art. Science? Are the sciences that fell into the pit?" Patton complained without replying, which made Aunt Wang laugh. Other townsmen in the field also made a fuss, making Shaoli's face red, but he still followed with a slut, insisting on supervising Patton. Patton looked at the scene and felt excited. I really couldn't pass this day. The retirement dream was so broken that it was gone. Now I have become a great hero in the town, and there is also an unrestrained follower. He lowered his head and removed his thorns. He was surrounded by Shaoli's thoughts and various prayers from Aunt Wang. His face was full of helplessness, but he also brought a warmth that could not be said. Forget it, just be terrible. It's always better than being chased by the brave world that year. Barton smiled self-deprecatingly, continued to work low, and the head in his hand was quite a bit arrogant. On the red soil path, the daily life of the egg castle is still continuing, and the hot and the chickens fly, and the former devil, Patton, has finally merged into this small place and passed the hilarious days of being tortured by the neighbors.